Park. Yellowstone National Park is the United States' first national park. It might be fought over by a couple other parks that would claim themselves as being first, but this is the National Park System claims this as the first one. It was created on March 1st, 1872. It sits within 3 states here, Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. It is 3,471 square miles, which is larger than Rhode Island and Delaware put together. In 2016, there were 4.5 million visitors to the park. So you can see that this place is a very special and important place to the people of today, as well as the people from thousands of years ago. There are 26 Native American tribes that have a historic connection to Yellowstone and can trace their lineage back 11,000 years ago. And in the early 1800s, the first Europeans made their way into Yellowstone during the westward advance. So we are going to move into our first slide. Down in the right-hand corner, you'll see that there are little arrows that say 1/13. That will be how you will move forward and backwards through the different screens. In the middle of your screen, you'll see a couple of arrows on the picture. When you click on those, you will move to your right and get another view, or you'll move to your left and get a different view. There are negative and positive sign down in the right-hand corner that will zoom you in or zoom you out. And when you zoom out, you'll get an overhead view of the area that we are in. And if you are feeling like altitude sickness because you're up so high, you can click on the little person icon, grab that person and place that person on any blue spot that's down there, and that will bring you back down and center you within the picture where you drop the person. So kind of going through a little bit of our technical stuff. If you have any other questions, please feel free to dump them into the chat. So we will get started with our tour. So welcome to Norris Geyser Basin. Here in Norris Geyser Basin, Yellowstone has recorded the hottest geyser here at 459 degrees Fahrenheit or 237 degrees Celsius. So it is super hot, and I would recommend that everyone here, while we are making our way through, stay on the boardwalks. These are built here for your safety. There have been many injuries in the past, and Yellowstone and the federal government have put these in to protect not just the resource that is there, but also the people that are visiting the resource. Norris Geyser Basin also has the tallest geyser in the world, Steamboat Geyser, and that will range anywhere between 300 and 400 feet or 91 to 122 meters. So we are going to pop away on our screen real quick to show you a map of Yellowstone. This is the roads that go through Yellowstone, and in the middle you'll see Norris, and that is where we are right now. And then all the areas that we will visit will be in this little figure 8 that you see there. So when I talk about an area, this will be where it's at. And we will make our way from Norris Geyser Basin to the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. So we'll click to slide 2. Now, we don't want to mistaken the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone for the Grand Canyon in Arizona. While they're both grand and they're both really impressive sites, this Grand Canyon was carved by the Yellowstone River about 150,000 years ago. And some of the main attractions here are Upper Falls, and Lower Falls. Upper Falls is about a 109-foot waterfall, while Lower Falls is a 308-foot waterfall. While we are in the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, we can walk along Uncle Tom's Trail, which heads to a staircase, and that staircase has 328 stairs that head down into the canyon to be able to get a different view of the canyon and of Lower Falls. If you make your way down to the bottom of the stairs, you have to remember, you have to make your way all the way back up those 328 stairs that are there. So from the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, we are going to go to slide number 3, and we're going to make our way into Hayden Valley. Over in Hayden Valley, we find a place that used to be a very large lake. But due to shifting of the earth and tectonic plates, it no longer is a lake, but has turned into a wildlife paradise for the 67 different species of mammals that live here in Yellowstone. Yellowstone houses the largest amount of free roaming bison. They have almost 5,000 bison that roam free throughout the park. They have elk. They also have wolves that were once eradicated from Yellowstone, but were reintroduced in 1995 and have flourished in their population. One of my favorite animals that we can see when we're in Yellowstone is the moose, or I guess if we have a lot of them in a group, we could call them meeses. I'm not sure, my wife doesn't like that joke, but I think mooses are meeses. You can find bears. We could see lynxes or cougars. We can see bobcats or foxes. There are river otters and badgers. There are bighorn sheep. There are beavers, rabbits, marmots, and pikas that all make their home here in Yellowstone. There are also 13 different species of bats that also have their home here in Yellowstone. So from this beautiful valley here, we are going to make our way south to the Old Faithful Visitor Education Center. So we're going to click to slide number 4 if you are clicking on your own or if you're just following us. The Old Faithful Visitor Education Center was finished in 2010, and this center houses the ranger station, a backcountry office, clinics and classrooms, and a young scientist exhibit room. So who here realizes that where we are standing now in Yellowstone is an active volcano or a supervolcano? So with all the geysers and all the different geological things that are happening in Yellowstone, we also have other things that are happening. Yellowstone has somewhere between 1,000 to 3,000 earthquakes every year, and it is home to over 500 different active geysers. So when we're here at the Education Center, we can now move from the Education Center and head across to the parking lot, and we're going to make our way to Old Faithful. Old Faithful, we're going to click slide number 5. And Old Faithful is one of the more famous attractions here in Yellowstone National Park. It is on its own little timer, so it erupts every 35 to 120 minutes. So when you're there, you should be able to see it. And it will be active when it erupts for about 1.5 minutes to 5 minutes. And it will reach anywhere between 90 to 140, 184 feet. So while we are at one of the most famous attractions, we are going to click slide number 6, and we're going to move to the most photographed attraction in Yellowstone. And we make our way to the Grand Prismatic Spring. This spring here is the most photographed spring and most photographed attraction in all of Yellowstone. When we look at these pretty colors of orange, yellow, blue, and green, this is all made up of different species of bacteria that are in this spring. This spring has also been measured to be about 10 stories deep. So it is a pretty deep spring also. In 1839, Osborne Russell, who was a fur trapper, came to Yellowstone, and this was one of the first documentations of this natural wonder that he sent back east for people to be able to come and see. How hot is the water there? I'm not sure, Ivan, how hot it is, but it's hot enough that we don't want to go in it. There are injuries that happen yearly of people touching the water that come out of the geyser. So cool. So from here, we are going to make our way north to Mammoth Hot Springs. So we're going to click slide number 7. And if we are following along with us, we're going to just kind of move through slide 7, 8, and 9, and you can do the same thing. We're going to take a look at these hot springs and these terraces where they are located, and then into the historic district that's up here. So these terraces are formed also by a geyser, but it is, hot springs, because it is formed around limestone, and limestone is a soft rock, it gives a chance for this to build up and then solidify over time. And then it built into these travertine pools. If we drop our character somewhere, we might be able to see one. Well, it's pretty white. It's limestone. So, so during the early expansion into the West, this area became very popular with people coming out here and settling. And so this historic district, we have about 35 buildings still left from the 1890s that were built here. There is Fort Yellowstone. They built up hotels and restaurants in this area. And you'll find when you're up there, or you can search for it online, is that people used to take pictures standing in these pools here, and then which was basically vandalizing or destroying these. And during that early expansion, we found that there were lots of people who came in here and were poaching and squatting. And in 1886, the US Army came into Yellowstone and managed this for about 30 years. So if we click onto slide number 8, this is going to take us to the Albright Visitor Center. Cool. So these were old military barracks that officers used to be in. The buildings that are on the right-hand side are the historic buildings, and the buildings on the left-hand side are some hotels there and restaurants. And this is the old historic district of Mammoth Hot Springs. Yellowstone has around 382 permanent employees that work in this park. So it is a pretty massive park with a lot of employees here. And we are going to move to slide 11 to a famous entrance to the park. This is on the northwest end of the park. And this monument stone arch was built in 1903. And during 1903, Teddy Roosevelt our president was also making his way through Yellowstone, and he helped lay the cornerstone for this arch on the north end. Yellowstone houses 900 different buildings, 1 National Historic Trail, 25 historic sites, and over 1,800 archaeological sites. And from the Roosevelt Arch, we are going to make our way east by clicking slide 12. And we are going to head to the Tower Falls area. And this is the area where I saw my first bear in Yellowstone. And my wife and I pulled over because we saw a car with a bunch of people outside taking pictures, and there were 2 little bear cubs out there, and I was trying to take a picture with my camera, and my wife kept yelling at me that I was too close. And I looked at her and I said, "It's okay, someone's in front of me, she'll get attacked first." And that person wasn't too happy with me. So, but this is a very fertile area with mammals. Also, here with Tower Falls, we have a 132-foot fall that we can actually walk to. Yellowstone has an additional 290 waterfalls throughout the park in different areas. So coming here, we'll be able to see one. We wouldn't be able to see every waterfall. That's a lot of waterfalls there. They have black bears and grizzly bears up in Yellowstone. Cool. And we are going to jump to slide 13. And we are going to head to Lamar Valley and to another wildlife paradise where a lot of mammals are also here. You see in this picture a lot of greenery. Yellowstone has over 1,300 different plant species. They also have over 285 different birds that either roost or stop in to say hello on their movement to and from wherever they are going. You can see bald eagles, ospreys, you could see swans, pelicans, loons, and even falcons. So as we look at Yellowstone and the 13 slides that were given to us, it is a lot more vast than this.
Go that way.
And I'm hoping that one day you will all get a chance to make your way up to Yellowstone and visit it. It is my favorite national park that I've been to here in the United States. And I just feel like it meets, man meets nature here. And it is a very, very beautiful place. So this wraps up our tour, our virtual tour of Yellowstone National Park. I would like to thank Chris for guiding us through Google Earth. I would like to thank Caitlin for helping us with our interpreting. And if you would like to continue to follow us, and I see that we have a Zion coming up, so we're going to take a trip through Zion also. If you would like to continue to follow us, you can follow us on Instagram at CSUN, CSUNOA. You can follow us at csun.edu/AS/outdoor adventures. And next Tuesday, we have a gentleman who's coming in, Chris Milburn. He has done some work for Nat Geo. He has been a photographer on Everest. He has been with penguins in Antarctica, and he has explored Mayan temples. So if you'd like to join us at 12 o'clock on Tuesday for a Q&A with him, so that will be less of me talking or one of us talking and more of him answering your questions. And then next Thursday at 12 o'clock, we have Ranger Bethany from the Channel Islands that will be joining us to talk about the Channel Islands off the coast of California. So I would like to thank you all for coming in. And if you have any more questions, we will stay around for a little bit to hopefully answer them. Thank you, and enjoy your Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.
Do you remember what kind of bear it was, Tim?
They were little black bears. Yeah, there were 2 little cubs. And yeah, I didn't have a really good camera, so like I was with everybody else kind of getting as close as I could. We probably shouldn't have been that close anyway. So
Did you see buffalo when you were, bison when you were there?
yeah. When you're in Yellowstone, you'll see a lot of bison, and they'll actually stop traffic. They own the roads, you don't, and so they'll just make their way down the middle of the road, and cars will have to pull over to the right or to the left, and you just have to wait for them. And they're pretty big. They male bison will reach about 2,000 pounds. So I don't think that's something that you want to run your car into when you're there.
And there are grizzly bear in the park, right?
Yes.
That's wild. You didn't backpack when you went, did you?
I did not backpack. No, I camped. I've been there 3 times, and each one has been camping. And one of the things with Google is if you were on Google Maps, you notice that there's a large lake there too, and they didn't really touch upon this in their Google Earth program, which I wish they would have talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
It's pretty big. If you're planning a trip, you should probably plan for 5 days in Yellowstone to probably see everything that you want to see, because from one location to the next location, it definitely takes a while for you to get there. So. And if anybody wants to unmute themselves to ask a question, if you're not a good typer like me with using your fingers on a keyboard, you can ask a question if you'd like.
Hey, Tim.
Yes.
Would you guys consider doing this for like Great Smoky Mountains or one of those parks on the East Coast?
We used to go to Florida, to the Everglades. It's definitely not out of our wheelhouse to try to do that. I think that's something that I'm sure we could look at. The Great Smoky Mountains are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's just looking at what the timing that we have, and to try to go somewhere in the summer. It's pretty difficult because there's a lot of people there. There was an article one year about there was like an 11-mile wait to get into Yellowstone.
Oh, wow.
So like trying to go in the summer is difficult. So we try to make most of our stuff happen during the semesters.
Yeah.
Even though when we go to Yellowstone, we go in June. But that's still considered the off season.
Yeah.
There, so it's not as busy.
Well, I can definitely tell you it's not an 11-mile wait to get into Great Smoky Mountains.
Probably not. No.
It's definitely not that. I've been enough times in the summertime to know better than that. But like most of the parks, you do need to get up early if you're going to try to do any of the hikes or any of that stuff.
Ivan, I think we're definitely going to do one for a virtual tour of Great Smoky Mountains.
Okay.
Shenandoah and Everglades, though.
Yeah.
For sure.
I've never been to Shenandoah, but I have been to Great Smoky Mountains. Shenandoah is on my bucket list.
On the list, yeah. So this is the, I can share this link in the chat as well. So these are the links to the pre-made parks.
Uh-huh.
They've got anywhere from, some of them only have like 2 or 3 slides. Others have like 20.
Uh-huh.
But you can make your own too.
Okay.
So we're trying to make our own for some of the spots that that aren't already curated, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll put that link right
Going to Yellowstone this summer, Ivan?
Well, we were planning on it, and I'm hearing that they're going to open the parks up in the summer, but I'm not willing to make a reservation until I know for sure. But like I had said to you earlier, we already went through and found some houses that we were interested in putting down a deposit. We were just about to put down a deposit when all this came down. So I was like, well, let's hold off on the deposit because we don't know if Yellowstone's going to be open. But yeah, the intention was to go in July. So even though that is, I know, the most crowded time.
Yeah.
But I'm the type of person, I'll get up at 6 a.m. to go to stuff. I don't care if I can beat the crowds. So
Jennifer, you're